his life, he would have 11 wives. He'd have 11 wives. Now, what happened that would change him from being a merchant to being a religious leader? Well, he was a very devout man. That is, he was wanting respect and honor and custom and tradition to be kept sacred in Mecca. And he was sickened with all of the corruption going on in Mecca. And while he was out praying one day, he had a vision, as his biographer says. In 610 AD, he had a vision. And this vision was an angel, Gabriel, that came to him and gave him a new revelation and said, all these other previous beliefs systems, they are corrupt, they are wrong, they are not the true way. And you, sir, will be my last prophet, as God was saying to him. You will be my last prophet, and you will speak this to the whole nation and to the world. And he kept this secret. When he came out of this vision thing, he kept it secret for a few years. The only people he told was his wife, and he told his uncle, he told his kids, and he told his closest friend, a guy named Abu Bakr. You remember that name, it was on your map. Apparently Abu Bakr is going to become very important later on. So he keeps it secret. And what was the essential seed of Islam? What was the seed of it? Was this sentence right here. This is not from the Quran or anything, but it sums it up. And that is, he was told that he was the final prophet. He was the main prophet of God. And God means, translated into Arabic, is Allah. That's what it means. And so, in Muslim tradition, they will say Allah. And he was told that God is one, and that people are to worship Allah and pursue personal purity, piety, and morality. That is, they are to do the right thing for God. That's very general. There's no details in here yet, and he will have more visions as time goes on, and it'll fill in some of the other stuff and beliefs. Eventually, he couldn't keep it secret any longer, and after 3 years, he began preaching. He began preaching the message that he had received from the angel, and he gave it to all the people of Mecca. And this started making people very upset. It made people very upset because when you are head over a city, and one of the ways that you gain your livelihood and make money is to have people pilgrimage to your city for religious things, and they pay to go to the idols and pay to go worship and all this stuff, that can start affecting your money flow. And his own tribe started turning against him because what he was doing. And it got so bad that he and his followers started to be oppressed. They started to be oppressed. They didn't really kill anybody. Okay, the Meccanese people of the city, and even his own tribal people, they didn't really kill his people. Well, they did indirectly. They kind of would rough them up, push them around, be like, stop it, be quiet. And eventually they started denying his followers rations. They would deny them access to the water supplies in the city and also to food at the marketplace. And this caused some of them to die. And two notable people would be his uncle died, Abu Talib, and also his wife died as well. So they both died, so he's left there. He's a widower now himself, and he's got 3 kids, and he's starting this new belief system. And he is forced to flee. And in 622, he flees, and he leaves Mecca, and he travels north to a city called Medina. And that is a very significant event for Muslims. In their, today we are in the year 2016. Okay, for Muslims, it is not the year 2016. They don't use our calendar. They don't use our number system. And so they are, whatever it would be from that day, 622, you could add it up. But 622, that event is 0 year for them. It is the shift of Muhammad leaving Mecca, his old life, his old ways, his life with his family, and all of that stuff's gone. He's lost a lot of it, and now he's going to be journeying into something else, and he goes to Medina. And he's forever going to be different because he's going to be like a prophet, kind of leader. So that is year 0 on the calendar for Muslims, and they've been counting since then. Now, while he was in Medina, he found something that's called, where are you going? What? Always ask, don't just do it. Yes. He goes to Medina, and while he's in Medina, he founds what's known as the Ummah. And the Ummah is going to be his community of believers. The Ummah is kind of equal to the church for Christians. It's the community of believers. That's literally just what it is. Like they come in like a congregation and they work together and all this stuff. So, when this happens, as time goes on, those people in the Ummah start getting called Muslims, which means those who submit, submitters, or submission. Submission to the words of Muhammad, the Prophet of Allah. And so, that's what that word means and why they're called that today. Now, what happened, this is where things kind of turn a little bit. After he's in Medina for a while, Muhammad starts having further visions, and he receives visions from the angel telling him to take up the sword and to take back Mecca. And so, he starts a campaign, a war against the city-state of Mecca. And this lasts for about 4 years. They fight battles. It's very bloody. It's costly on both sides. And after this fighting, Mecca is pretty much drained of its ability to fight the war. And in 629 A.D., Muhammad marches to the gates of Mecca. And he's there waiting outside of the city with an army of over 10,000 men. And he's on his horse, and he looks up to the gates, and he says, "Open this city right now, and you will be spared." And they have to agree to this, otherwise they're all going to die. And so, they open up the city gates on the pretense that he will not butcher everybody when he comes in. And he says, okay. So they open the doors, and the city of Mecca surrenders to Muhammad. He's back home now, where he originally had come from. And he has the city of Medina, and he has the city of Mecca now. And what he does is he goes into the holy section of the city, to this holy site at the Kaaba, this black box building thing. It looks like a cube. Kaaba means cube. That's what it's called. And have you ever seen that before? You ever seen pictures of it? Well, I'm going to show you some real pictures. When he enters in there, he went into the holy place and he removed all the idols. He destroyed all the other gods. Any other thing that would be contrary to his teachings was thrown out and destroyed. Right there as the people of Mecca were watching him. And this happened over a process of time. And then he rededicated this place to be his HQ, to be his headquarters. And from there he will launch several campaigns, wars, in the surrounding Arabian desert to take in all these other tribes. And he becomes the sole ruler of Medina and Mecca. Now let me show you this place. Have you ever seen that? You ever seen pictures of that? That is the Kaaba. And the Kaaba is literally probably the most sacred place for Muslims. Why is it that? Well, if you look here, this is very rare footage. This is a rare picture. I'm surprised I was able to get it. This is the inside of it. This is the inside of it. What is it? It's a temple. It's a temple. And it is one of the most important parts of that temple is on the outside. There is this little area where you can go up and look at this giant black stone. this black stone, the Hajarul Aswad, and that is the black stone. And what is that? The Muslims say that that is one of the great celestial stones from the beginning of creation. It is a stone from the beginning of creation that was used by Adam and Eve to build an altar to God, that it was used by Abraham to build a altar to God, and it has been used by all of these great prophets throughout history in order to build these altars up to God, and therefore it was used as the stone that Abraham used to build the final altar up to God, which was at this location, which is what they say. That is the location where Abraham offered up. Does anybody know? Who was he about to kill? Which one? Isaac. The Muslims say that it was not Isaac. They say it was Ishmael. And so they go with Ishmael as being the one that is to give the get the actual right to the land. Remember when I told you about this, about the whole family feud of land? Is it Isaac or Ishmael that should get the land? Muslims say Ishmael was the firstborn. He was the rightful heir to the land by the prophet and father of the entire faith system, Abraham, who was given by God the right to this land. And so, that's part of this thing. And you can go up and you can go to that stone if you get the chance in the huge crowds. And you can touch the stone, and you can, many times you'll see them put their forehead to it. They pray, and they will kiss it, and things like that. And what is the reason? They're not worshiping that, but it is the connection for them back to the Prophet Muhammad, who then rededicated the stone and the temple. And it goes back to Abraham, and they say it goes back to Adam and Eve. And so, that's why it's so sacred to them. Now, I will say, it must be some kind of a meteorite of some sort. It has to be some kind of a meteorite because it is not actually foreign. It is foreign. It's a foreign stone. It's not from Earth. So, it is some kind of an object that came down out of the sky. And so, they see this as a celestial object, a spiritual object. And it is inside of that cube, they will have scriptures, they will have specific items that come from the leaders of Islam, and specifically back to the days of Muhammad, and it is a sacred site. To give you a sense of the importance of this, look at this. Those are people. Those are people. This is the core, this is the heart place of Islam in the world today. Mecca. And so, you see all these little dots, those are people. If you're not aware, you see all of those people, you see all back in there, those are people. These are people. These are people. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. It is the HQ for Islam. And it's in Saudi Arabia today. And it is required by Muslims, if they are able to, in their lifetime, they must make at least one pilgrimage to Mecca in their lifetime to have experienced it and to go. It's called the Hajj, which is their pilgrimage. Okay? And so you can go up to it and get the chance. And the stone, they say, was originally white, which symbolized the purity of God and no sin. And now it has become black because sins of the world. And it actually has been decolored. It's kind of interesting. It used to be back in the 60s and stuff, it was like a ember-looking color, and now it's black. So that's, they go and kiss it and stuff. It's very polished now for so many people's oils. You got to kiss it like that. The last thing I want to say before you're leaving is Muhammad would live until 632. He would die of an illness. And it is said in the Quran, in some traditions of Islam, he ascended into heaven. His body was taken in the night, and it went through all these different locations, religious locations. he went back to Mecca in the night. The angel Gabriel took his body and took him to Mecca, took him to Mount Sinai, where Moses got the Ten Commandments, and took him to Jerusalem, where he then stood up on a rock, and the prophets of Moses and Elijah and Elisha came down, and they spoke to him. He did a prayer with them, and then he ascended into heaven. Now, not every single Muslim takes that, but the point is, you know that golden dome thing in Jerusalem? Mm-hmm. That is the Dome of the Rock. That's what that is. Inside of that building is a rock. It's a giant stone slab. And they believe that is the location at which Muhammad ascended. Okay, so that's why it's so sacred. But the point is, what was the size of his little ummah, his community? How large did it grow? About that by the time of his death. Is it an ummah? Is it a community anymore? Or is it becoming a kingdom? It's a very important question. And so we'll take up the next time these dudes called the four rightly guided caliphs. The caliphs that would rule after his death. Okay, so we got. Oh, yeah. I'm not for sure. I'd have to read on it. But it could have been that these people just made alliance with them, so they're included in these kingdoms. It could have been that. That's what this is on that.
Wait, what? I will. I have to throw them back in my legs. I was on fucking sleep today. Shit. I think you tripped over him.
No, I tripped over him.
That's what I'm saying. You tripped.
He literally said he...
And he was going, I'm like, wow, okay.
Chase literally said he put his foot out and went like this. When
I'm surprised he didn't go down with you.
I was about to knock him.
Thank you very much for helping.
No problem.
You.
You learned a lot helping.
Check the whole thing and see if
I'm tired. You look bored. Of course I am. Always bored.
Somebody hit you in the face. I was like, look at this. That's bad. Hey, I get the outside today. No, you got it yesterday. No, you did. I'll just have to let you read this. Okay. You want me? What? Hey, there you go.
do love you.
What we do with that? I need that.
Yeah.
My shirt just made me all dirty. I wasn't wearing that. It's like,
I don't want it.
Yeah, we'll go there.
Did you make
I like it. I got all sorts of baby dolls.
Yeah, you do that.
Don't be around. Don't worry if it's ever again. Yeah, I know. Sorry, I'm getting my iPhone. I got $4 now.
So do y'all want to talking about he had this question.
This is when I'll leave. Okay, what is it? I'm back.
Oh my god.
It's like this and I
Excuse me, Miss Bowman?
Yes.
Kendall Glover has an early dismissal.
Okay, I'll tell her.
Thank you.
Okay, what does she want to do? Let me know when you're right back. Oh! You're just going to tell everybody. What are you going to ask for? It's freaking hot.
Maybe you should have tripped over a doll.
A doll? I'm just happy I didn't land in a pile suit. A doll?
She tripped over a doll.
A doll?
You know what?
To be honest, I flew over it. You already did. Like the doll was like, it was right there where that nest is, and I was like right here. By the time it was all said and done. I can't see out of my body. What did I do? So I'm going blind today. Tell me what I did.
Same with Greece.
I'm knocking the hell out all three of them. Who was that girl sitting beside me?
You want this?
Really? I don't like her. She was like, tell that bitch to quit. I was like, you're talking to Major. Watch your mouth. She was like, I'm sorry. I was like, well, I said sorry. Hey, don't do this. Wait, which one said that? That's not what she's trying to say that to me. I've been trying to fight her for the past, what, a year and a half? Long time I've tried to fight her to keep hold on me. You serious? Yes, you know what I was going to fight her and
I do.
Oh, yeah.
And they have like all four principals.
Against you or I have all
I never heard about it. I don't hear about a lot of things until it's like already happened.
Oh, what you get that thing? I did have a headache.
Same time, same hand on your feet.
Yeah.
I heard 9 miles. Yeah, I did a couple times.
I'm gonna be sick.
I didn't get into a fight. I could though. It's a dog. Look at the dog. Alright. Well, where is Justin?
Went to the bathroom. No, he got broke pretty hard.
What?
He got broke pretty hard.
What's that mean?
Means he got crossed over in basketball. And he fell on the floor. It was his leg.
Why do you need to go there?
Please don't let him throw. Please don't let him.
Yeah, go away. Do not throw up in here. It's hot enough as it is.
Go now. Who's gonna throw up?
They're very smart. Wow, I'm sure you know what crossover
Chico is a alright, so yeah. This is my dog. Were you in the city today? Yes. You can look for it. Yeah, you don't have boots. Singing.
Oh, Jordan, no wonder you were in there. I picked you out all of those. The dining
You didn't. Did you see it when they cried off stage? I didn't. They didn't do it on the same side. I think every time they sing, I love how they do it. I didn't like it. Just like internet that makes sure I was
Bunny girl.
Alright guys, those of you that go to this river.
She's gonna beat him white. Jared's gonna beat him. Once I said beat him white, I'm like, well, he's already got half of that covered.
Oh, Levi's on. That was